been married 41 years, and it's been wonderful. We've had some ups and downs, but I would not change a thing. Right after we got married and she was pregnant, Peggy couldn't cook when we first got married, and I lived off of love for a year. But one particular day I came home and she had made mashed potatoes. The only problem is she did such a good job, she ate all of them, and I had to eat boxed spaghetti.
No, you had to eat a pot pie.
A pot pie, okay. I know it was something boxed. The best thing about being married for me is Peggy's companionship. She's smart, she makes me complete. The things that I don't know, she knows, and so we complement one another.
Okay, Bob is a really big UNC fan. So this one particular game, he jumped on the coffee table. Something happened and it was so exciting to him, and he jumped on the coffee table and jumped up and down on the coffee table, just having a fit. And they lost. But they were doing really great at the time. For me, the best thing about being married is spending my life with Bob. He is an awesome husband. I know what I have, and I have a jewel. And I know that I can depend on him in anything. He's always there for me. You know, he allows me to do crazy things, and it's okay. And I love him. Money does not buy happiness, but it certainly makes things a whole lot better when you manage your money well and you have money than when you don't have any money. Earlier on in our marriage, we didn't have nearly as much money to work with, and so things were tough, and a lack of money. That's one of the reasons so many people divorce, because they're fighting about money all the time. When you plan out your money and you know what you're going to do with it, that's one fight you don't have to have, because you already know what you're going to do with the money.
God is first in our lives. He's first in our finances, He's first in our family, and we certainly believe in family, and with God, that all works so much better. To all the couples who may be watching, the one thing that they need to know about marriage is, again, it's a commitment, and that you need to always show your spouse that you love her, and that you'll do whatever it takes to keep your marriage strong and have fun.
Husbands, one of the best gifts that you can give your children is to love their mother. Because if you love their mother, you will always take care of their mother, and the children will always feel secure, and they will always be taken care of. Know that this really is till death do us part. And so when you go into it and you know that this is it, this is the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, and realize that there is no one more important than your spouse. Not your children, not your parents, not your friends. Nobody comes before your spouse. And when you do that, you'll have a good marriage. It won't always be easy, because people are not going to like that nobody comes between you and your spouse. But you will have a fantastic marriage.
Amy didn't get to experience this, but I did, and I'll just share it with you. And you can find these stories on the internet of people who've been married 86 years and 100 years and all this stuff. My parents were married about 35 years. My father had a stroke at 41, which was very dramatic. As children, my parents, like other parents, went through so many dilemmas and challenges and things. And my wife has to get back to celebration, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to give her one more thing to say, if she'd like to say anything, and then I'm going to let you go.
Bob and Peggy did great. That was awesome. I'm not sure where they are. That was great. Where are they? that was awesome.
That was awesome.
But just, marriage is wonderful. Marrying the right person's great. And I think if the whole key, like they said, is keeping God first in your money, in your marriage, and everything you do. And I just believe that you'll have success, because then you have help from above.
Would y'all give it up for Miss Amy as she goes? Thank you. I think that'd be great. Give her a big hand. Stand up and give her some. She just loves those kids. I had to negotiate. I'm actually over my negotiated time. She was determined to get back to those kids. She said, you've got to let me go at such and such a time. She just loves those kids. We have the best children's pastor in the entire world. That's a fact. She'll fight for them. But she didn't get to experience it. She came from a broken home, and that's no offense to them. It just didn't work out between Miss Pat and her husband. And, he just went a different route. But my parents were married 35 years, something like that. My dad had a stroke at 41, which was extremely difficult, very challenging. There was serious challenges there because my mother became, a helper for him on a higher level. He was paralyzed on his right side. When they were married, he was an athlete. He played for the New York Giants before they moved to San Francisco. And he was a professional baseball player, 6'2", 6'3", strong, healthy man at 41, very young. I'm 48 now. That's 7 years beneath me. He had a stroke. And it left him paralyzed for the rest of the remainder of their marriage, which was, my mother became not only married to him, but a caregiver. And that was a struggle. And only God kept that relationship together. That's just the fact. I don't know, but like other marriages and other relationships, I watched, there were times when they would fight and they would go through struggle. And I remember that my dad would get in the car, he'd drive off and he'd say, I'm not coming back. And then a half hour, an hour later, he'd be sitting there in the driveway and say, the only reason I came home was for them kids. It built a strength and a stability in us. It certainly built a longevity of marriage institution inside of me. I got a grasp of marriage that I would not have gotten. And then I was privileged. On the day my father died, I went to the hospital. He had a heart attack in the hospital, and there were several things going on. And all of us as a family, my sister, myself, my mother, my father, and there were church people around us, but it was us. And I remember, they called the code on him, and they were beating on his chest and trying to bring him back. And I walked in the room. My mother couldn't. I walked in the room, and I said, that's enough. Don't try to revive him anymore. And I was able to let my father go on to be with the Lord. But after it was all over, they dressed him, and put the sheets up on him, how they do, and they get the body prepared for the family to come in. And so we all walk in. It's my mom, myself, and my sister. And I'm watching the tears roll off my mother's face. And I watched a woman who loved a man. And I saw a woman that had stayed and committed to a relationship despite all the problems that existed. And one of the greatest moments in my life was to watch her sit there and look back over her life and be grateful that she was sitting at that bed that day. That they had lasted to the point that till death do us part. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it for all of us as married couples. If you're in this house, whatever struggles you are, it's time to stop trying to be alone and start trying to be one. You're not individuals when you get married. There's nothing, I don't think I could enjoy something with that. I don't enjoy going off by myself. I get to go on trips and travel and go places, and I have to because of the ministry. It takes you places. But when I get there, the first thing I want to do is call her. First thing I want to do is contact her. I don't have an enjoyment in being by myself. Now listen, just write these things down for me real quick. Here are 10 things that will determine the success of your marriage. 10 things. These are the things that cause affairs. These are the things that cause challenges. And these are the things you've got to work on. And if given in studies that they've done with these particular 5 things, these 5 things, they rate highly among males and females. 5 of them are more relative to males, and 5 of them are more relative to females, but they're all relative to all. But you may find them to be the same way. If 1 or 2 of these is out of whack, people try to find them someplace else. All research indicates that a person has an affair not because they want sex. Sex is not the thing that brings people into affairs or causes people. Most of the time, it's something that happens in going outside of the marriage, whether it be, and this is the problem with Facebook and other places, is that whatever's missing, you can find today. You can go back and make yourself feel young again by finding an old relationship from high school. Lots of people have done this, ended up in affairs, ended up destroying marriages. And you've got to guard against this stuff. But they don't go outside of their marriage to have sex. That's not why they do. There may be a small percentage, again, always a small percentage of somebody that doesn't fit the mold. But, for the most part, overall, about 90% of everybody involved in marriage will face these things. And this is if there was an affair. If you want to affair-proof your marriage, then you're going to want to work on these things. Number one, you want to work on affection. That's not sex. Affection is the touch and the caress. It's the care and the concern for someone that you have. We all need affection. We need to be affectionate or have somebody be affectionate toward us, that we're definitely concerned. Secondly, is sexual fulfillment. Everybody on this planet, for the most part, needs some form of sexual fulfillment if you're married, for sure. You understand what I'm saying? You need it because you were created with that desire to be sexually fulfilled. It's only one portion of who you are. It's only one portion of what you need, but it's there. And so if you are withholding sex from your spouse, the Bible says not to do that. There are reasons why. I understand why people would not want to do that. Closed, you've had things that have happened that closed your heart, closed your spirit. But when you do that, you're giving opportunity for the devil to attract someone else to your spouse. You need to become creative. You need to become intentional in sex. Sometimes just have sex to have sex. Look at y'all like, Yes. If you're a married person, you may say, tonight, baby. It's not just about having kids. Amen. And wives, I know how hard that is. I understand it. I'm married. And I'm not going there because there might be kids in the room. I'm hoping that you sent them over to kids. But if you didn't listen, a man got to have sex. Look at y'all. Listen, I'm the pastor of the church, and I don't want y'all to get a visual. But a couple weeks go by, and it can happen. It's serious. Look at it, ain't no man, nobody was like. I'm just saying, women, you got to understand this is part of what we need. And I don't know that, there are some women that need that. There are women that are outside the range and that have, other challenges with that area. But particularly in general, men don't, they don't have to have an emotional, build up to sex. We just want it. Never mind. Never mind. So that's something you got to have. You ain't ready for that today, are you? Another one's conversation. Conversation. Just talking. There ain't nothing, my wife, I'll be watching a basketball game and, we've negotiated this over 19 years a little bit better now. She doesn't interrupt quite as much. But there are times when she comes to find out whether or not the basketball game means more than her. Well, you ain't even going to turn off. I don't understand. I'm just talking. You ain't even listening. I'm leaving. Every man's been through it. Every woman's been through it. You're not even listening. You're not even looking at me. I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. Well, what'd I say? Come on, we've all been there, right? But we also have found out that far more of our communication is nonverbal. So it's not just what you say with words. It's your nonverbal communication. It is whether or not you're looking at him. It is whether or not you're engaged in the conversation. It is whether or not you're having, interest in it. Whether you're conversing or just listening. And there are times to just listen, but there are times everyone needs conversation. And interestingly enough, we get married and all of a sudden we just stop having conversation. Now we'll have it on our job. We'll have it at our workplace. We'll have it out in the cafeterias. We'll have it at the ballpark. And my wife has been, I remember sitting in a counseling session and a lady was sitting across from me. And she's just crying and carrying on. And I'm trying to counsel her and tears are rolling down my face. And it's all, I'm talking and listening. And when we get done, my wife said something to me. I said something real coarse and I kind of cut her off. And she said, I can't believe it. And I said, what? She said, you'll sit there and cry with her and then you'll cut me off. That pricked my heart, man. I thought that's the truth. I just cut off the most important person in my life, my soulmate. And I cared more for somebody else, and I do care for people. But if I care for her, it has to be at least at the highest level. And men, if you can go out there, you give yourself permission to do what you do. Everything you do, you've given yourself permission. And you got to remember, your first ministry, the most important ministry in your life, the most important conversation you'll have in your day, is not the business deal you made down at the Y or on the golf course. The most important decision, the most important conversation is the one who you married. That's your most important conversation. And I set aside time. I don't necessarily have quantity of time. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. I don't have a lot of it. I don't have quantity. I have 1,800 people that attend this church. I have ministries that I now oversee. I have ministers that now call me and ask for advice, and we have relationship. I have 3 kids that I have to deal with and all those kinds of things. I don't necessarily have this huge quantity of time, but I set aside quality. When they get me, they get all of me. Well, that's a mouthful right there. When they get me, they get 100% of me. They're not going to get a portion of me. They get all of me. They get 100% of my moment. You might not have a lot of quality time, but you've got to set aside time and give it all to the person you love. And then you go on, and it's honesty and openness. Some of us, we've hidden things. I'm not talking about go back in your past and share things. My wife knows everything I've done in my life. I did not go into the details and share with her the nitty-gritty, but there is not one thing that I have hidden from her. Not one. She knows every dollar, every cent. She knows every bank account, everything. She knows every time I write somebody, don't write somebody. She knows everything. I have opened up my life completely and totally. Not one hidden thing. I don't want one place where somebody could come through that door. I don't leave any stone unturned where there could be an area of gray in my life. Some of you have extra phones hidden under the bed. You're only looking for trouble. You can have what I have. You can't have exactly what I have, but you can have what the design of God is. I can't wait to see her every minute I see her. She just left. When the service is over, I can't wait till I see her in that other building. That's the truth. I can't wait to drive home with her in the car. I can't wait. I can't wait to eat lunch that she makes this afternoon. That's the truth. I mean, I've opened my life to her. There is no back door. I decided when I got married that I was completely 100% vulnerable. Not hardly, not some. She can crush me. She can ruin my life. She can totally take everything I have. Everything. I have nothing in reserve. If this thing falls apart, I am finished. That's a fact. But I think that's the only way I could go into this, is it's either all the way or none of the way. Does anybody understand what I just said? And people that are reserving things, I get it that you may be, just things that you've gone through in life that have held you back, and you may have been divorced before, and you can't give in that level or whatever. But hear what I'm saying. There is a place like that. And maybe you can get a little closer to it. Maybe you can become a little more vulnerable, a little more open. And this is certainly, you got to live with the choices and decisions you make. I don't have to live with them. They're all yours. They're individually yours. One size does not fit all. I can't do what you can do. You can't do what I can do. But I can give you where I'm at. And maybe it can adjust you a little bit. And I want to see you last. There's not a marriage today, not one, that can't be solved or fixed. That doesn't mean they won't or will. But in God, it's possible. You may say, well, you don't know how far gone we are. You don't have to stay in it. God doesn't require you to, but it's fixable. It's fixable. But you have to read. You have to study. You're going to have to do some of these things. Honesty and openness, physical attractiveness. Don't come home. Wives, you go out to work all day. You're working in some doctor's office. You got your little uniform on. You primed up your hair. You got your makeup right. You got your smell good on. You got your nice shoes. You're looking all hot. You come home, throw in the coolers, put on the sweatpants and sit down. Come home, let your man see somebody attractive. Brush your teeth, comb your hair. Come on, look good for the person you married. Men, don't go out there all day in your suit and your hot-looking self, and you get out there and you've been out with all the buddy. You got the suit on, the tie on, you come home, and now all you got them bleach shorts. Everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. You need to make an effort to make yourself physically attractive. Make yourself smell good. Don't go to bed without deodorant. I mean, the way you dress and things can obviously decide whether or not you're attractive to your spouse. I mean, if you go to bed, ladies, look like you got, 2 pairs of sweats on and 3 sweatshirts on, and you got a hoodie on, and you're like, good night, baby, and you roll over. He know he ain't getting none. It's the truth anyhow. It's the truth. Every man's like, preach it, pastor, preach it, preach. I just wish once she'd come to bed with them little shorts on, just once in that little shorts. What's sad is that you would do that before you got married. What's sad is you'll go hunting. It isn't just men that hunt. Women hunt. And you set yourself up for that man. You show up where he at. You call him on the phone. You interrupt his conversation. And then you get married and we ain't seen you. Come on. So you have to be physical and financial support. Everybody in a marriage must financially support. This is a subject. I just prayed over this and I just sat here trying to figure out how I could deal with all this. It's so big. How many think we could do more than one session of something like this? Would you enjoy it? Have you been blessed by it so far? Financial support. Everybody contributes. Everybody contributes some way or another financially to the marriage. And designed by and talked about. Now, by that I mean, if you're the breadwinner, and say your wife is not going out and working, she's a single stay-at-home mother or a mother that's staying home, negotiated between the two of you. Both of those are right. I said there's God's best, so I can clear this up. God's best this would be God's absolute best. It is for a husband to go work, make enough money and support, that his wife can stay home and raise the children when they're little and as they grow up. That would be God's best. That is absolutely God's best. A wife should be at home with the children. That's God's best. In the world we live in, that's not always what happens. Again, you can negotiate that. And a husband may be able to provide that way, and a wife, and they may be sacrificing the second car or whatever it is, and they don't get the swimming pool this time. But as life grows and the children leave the house, you may adjust that, and you might want to go to work because you're tired of being home. But ultimately, that's God's best. Fair enough? If that's the way that it is, then the financial support would be don't spend everything. Don't go blow all the money. He goes out working for it. He going crazy making money, and you out going to Macy's every week. Amen. Be frugal. Help him supply the bill. Matter of fact, it might be a good idea. I don't pay any bills. Not one bill in my house do I pay. Not one. I work hard. I make the money. I know every dollar, and I direct every dollar. Nothing happens in my house that I don't direct it. Nothing happens that I don't negotiate it with my wife. The only time that I ever did something, didn't tell her, it turned out bad. We lost money. But I negotiate all that. I make sure that I discuss it all with her. But she writes all the checks, takes care of all the bills, handles all the finances. But I know everything. We went out years ago and we got programs and we manage our money. We budget our money. We have financial support. She supports me by paying those bills and keeping up with the finances and all that stuff, making sure stuff don't bounce. She manages. I'm not a detailed person. I am never going to be a detailed person. I married a detailed person. And it has made all the difference in my life. It's okay. Find out what role works for you. Find out that role, get in that role and work with it. Stop fighting with each other about, I'll take care of money this month because you can't handle it. And you can't handle it. What is all that? And you got your money. When you going to give me your rent money? What? I can't even fathom that. I can't even understand. Some of you are doing it. I'm not criticizing it. That may be the way y'all handled it. I don't know. But we pooled everything, put it all together. Now, this is what you do when you're married. Don't do it when you're single. Don't do it till you get married. We pooled it all together, and we managed out of that fund. And we do real well that way. It really works because then we all know. Nobody can be hiding anything or secret or anything. So you get financial support, domestic support. I said this already. Everybody's got to help. Everybody's got to clean. My kids clean. My 5-year-old little girl started washing dishes. She has chores. She has things she has to do. My boys work around the house. They help me. If I do construction, they're doing construction. We all work. I'm going to teach my kids to work. They don't lay and watch TV and play games all day. They help me do the pool. They mow the grass. As soon as they turned 8, they started working with me on mowing the grass. Now Stephen can handle it by himself at 11. I just stand out there now with that, watch him just mow. I'm so happy watching him mow. I ain't raising no bums. I don't have time to cover any more literally further, just a few things, but I wanted to talk about, of course, family commitment and admiration. Write these down. Go to the website, marriagebuilders.com. Dr. Hartley has a lot to say there, marriagebuilders.com. And these are the love units that everybody needs, and I think you'll get a lot out of it if you'll go there. Agape love is a God kind of love. Here are some quotes I want you to write down for today. Marriage is a choice, not a requirement. Marriage is a choice, not a requirement. The guarantee of a successful marriage is not love, it's knowledge. The guarantee of a successful marriage is not love, it's knowledge. Every person that's been divorced was once in love. It didn't guarantee the success. But they didn't have the necessary equipment to survive. They didn't have the tools. Love is not what you need. You got to have it, but you need to get more than that. You got to get tools to survive. So knowledge. Successful marriage is the application. Write this down. Successful marriage is the application of knowledge, not the exchange of love. Successful marriage is the application of knowledge, not the exchange of love. Proverbs 4:5 says, get wisdom. Doesn't say get love. Get understanding. Didn't say get love. Forget not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, she'll keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with that get understanding. Exalt her, she'll promote you. And she'll bring you honor, and she'll bring you embrace. Get knowledge. Get wisdom. Go read books. Watch videos. Study marriage. Become a student. Well, I don't know what to do. Find out. Figure it out. You need that. Ignorance is a choice. And if you're not careful, ignorance will become generational. What you don't learn, you won't teach. Learn it so your kids can see it. Learn it so your family doesn't follow in your footsteps. Learn how to succeed. My children are going to know how to be married. I'm telling you. They watched videos this morning on marriage. As a matter of fact, I'd like to share this with you. If you would, run that video for me that I asked for.
Love is not an emotion. Secondly, love is a choice. You have to choose love, and you must choose to love. Why? Because love is the response to understanding the value of another thing. When you value something, you put a certain amount of love on it or endearment on it. For example, if you bought a brand new car, 2012, and it costs $112,000 I think you would want to clean that a few times. In other words, the more valuable the thing is to you, the more you want to treat it nicely. If you bought yourself a watch for $50,000, you would probably want to keep that watch in a different place than you keep the one you have now. Because the more value you put on something, the more you feel endeared to take care of it. So love is really a response to understanding value. That's why God loves you. God looks at you and he sees himself. The Bible says you are made in God's image. So when God sees you, he don't see what you think. He sees himself. And God loves himself so much, he refused to let himself go to hell. There was a value he put on you. By the way, value is measured by what you're willing to spend for something. Write that down, please. Can I say it again? Value is what? Measured by what you are willing to spend for something. In other words, when you pay for something, that's the value you gave it. So the more you pay for something, the higher the value placed on it. So here's the question. What did God pay to get you? He paid his own image on the cross, which means that God placed himself value on you. You are worth God. That's how you measure value. And so if someone really, really claims that they love you, they have a response to understanding your value, that is measured by what they are willing to give up for you. God loved you so much, he gave up himself. Can you meet someone who can do that? Someone who will give up all the men just for you, brother. This woman gave up all the men. All the men want her. But she decided, choice, that she can give herself to you only until she dies. Man, that's value. That's love. It's a choice. Because the men who still want her didn't leave the planet. That's important. They don't go away. And when she goes to work by herself, they will wink at her still. But she got to remember, I made a choice. This woman you claim you love, what did you cancel for her? Did you cancel your own mother for her? You have to. If your wife got to compete with your mother, then your wife is not the most valuable person on earth to you. And she feels that. She want to talk to you, and your mother called you on the phone to see you. You got a choice. And my advice is, go with your wife. Tell your mama, ask my wife for permission to see me. Just like that. You know why? The Bible never says that you're supposed to stay with your mother. It says leave your mother and father and cleave to your wife. You were born to leave your mother. I was born to leave, when before I got married, it was clear. I sat with my mom and dad, and even my sisters who were here today. I told them, look, getting married. And it's amazing, when you choose to marry somebody, your family don't always like them. But guess what? That's your choice, okay? Remember that. That's your choice. You made that choice. And I made it very clear. I said, now look, my getting married to this person doesn't bring two families together. It creates a third family. I'm going to say it again because you missed this. It's very important. In the Bahamas, this is what's destroying us right now. We keep thinking that two people bring two families together. That is not right. Because it invites interference. And some of you are divorced today because of in-laws who became outlaws. Come on, clap. You know it's true. Be nice. Clap. Yeah, they will get involved in your business. So you got to remember, look, when you get married, this ain't no two families coming together. This is the creation of a third family that is completely separate. And if you want to enter that family, you need permission. No one should just drop in on you if you are married, including your mother or your father. You don't just drop in. This is a private environment. You need permission to come in here. Call me before you come, because I mightn't want you to come. This is destroying marriages. I've seen people who drop in on people, walk right in the house, how you doing? Walk in the kitchen, open the pot. In your kitchen, fight. Oh, fight time now. No, that's a private environment. Protect your sanctity of your home. There's some mothers who need Jesus. Stay out of your children's business. I get touch this no more. I see them knives coming out, okay?
I was going to say all of that, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to let somebody else say it. I hope you got something out of this today. We can't go much further. I don't know if I answered all the questions. I decided not to read them and answer them specifically, but I thought through the talk you would get the information or some of it that you needed. And I hope that this has been a blessing. I think we should do more of this.